You open your eyes in the middle of the night. For a moment, you're not sure where you are. A street, a face, a flicker of light still lingers in your mind. Days later, that same scene unfolds exactly as you saw it. Your heart tightens. You tell yourself it's just a coincidence, but deep down, a quieter voice whispers, "I've seen this before in a dream." Across America and Canada, thousands of people have shared that same confession, that sometimes their dreams seem to whisper tomorrow. Some dream of an accident that later happens. Some dream of a farewell, a funeral, and wake to find it waiting for them in daylight. Scientists call it precognitive dreaming. To them, it's just memory playing tricks. The mind stitching random moments together to make sense of chaos. But those who've lived it know it feels far too precise to be chance. They say that a few days before his death, President Abraham Lincoln dreamed of walking through the White House. In the Great Hall stood a coffin draped in the flag. He asked a soldier, "Who has died?" The man replied, "The president." Whether the story is true or not, it became a symbol, a haunting reminder that something beyond logic might be quietly watching us. Decades later, a writer named Morgan Robertson published The Wreck of the Titan. A massive ship, declared unsinkable, strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic. 14 years later, the Titanic set sail, and the dream repeated itself in history. In September 2001, hundreds across North America reported dreams of fire, steel, and falling towers. At Princeton University, the Global Consciousness Project recorded strange fluctuations in its data, as if the collective human mind had already trembled before the tragedy arrived. So what does it mean? If our dreams can truly glimpse the future, perhaps the future isn't something that arrives, but something that's always been there. Maybe dreams don't predict at all. Maybe they remember memories of moments that haven't yet happened. And if even one dream can reach across that veil, what does that say about the world we live in? Is reality truly the present, or only the echo of something written somewhere beyond time, where consciousness still whispers about tomorrow? The darkness remains, a quiet breath between two worlds. Then slowly, a voice returns. Not to explain, only to guide. Some stories never fade, not because they're loud, but because they whisper, softly enough to stay. Across America and Canada, these whispers continue. Dreams written down at 3 a.m., half forgotten, half believed. Online confessions that begin the same way. I know this sounds crazy, but a man in Seattle dreams that his car skids off an icy bridge. In the dream, the sound of twisting metal is sharp, too real. He wakes shaking. The next day on that very road, his tires lose grip for a split second. He stops, right at the edge his dream had shown him. He tells no one. He just stands by the guardrail, breathing slowly, knowing something unseen has brushed past him. In Toronto, a young woman dreams she walks into her office, but no one's there. Empty desks, screens dark, a television flashing an emergency alert. The silence in the dream is what frightens her most. That morning she gets an email, lockdown in effect, office closed. The dream gave no details, only a feeling. And sometimes, a feeling is enough for the soul to prepare. Others tell of a door slamming shut, and the next day a job lost, or of embracing someone long gone, and weeks later standing at their funeral. Dreams don't speak in names or dates. They speak in symbols, in emotion, in fragments of memory borrowed from a day that hasn't arrived. Not every dream is right. Not every dream is clear. But once in a while, a dream rises from the dark and walks straight into daylight, without knocking, without warning, as if it simply continued where it left off the night before. Science calls it selective recall. We remember the dreams that match and forget the rest. A reasonable answer, and a safe one. Because if even one dream were real, the wall between sleep and waking would begin to crack. And humans fear the sound of cracking walls. Still, something gentle lingers between doubt and belief. Those who've lived it know, when a dream touches reality, it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like remembering. as if the deepest part of us had already gone ahead, seen a glimpse of the future, and when our bodies catch up, we recognize the moment we'd already visited. No one knows why it happens to some and not others. No one knows why some dreams save us, while others only leave a quiet ache. But in every story, one truth repeats. When a dream comes as a warning, you feel it, not with logic, not with eyes, but with a tiny vibration inside, the sound of a clock in an empty room, a gentle caution, a touch from something not yet here. And once again, the question returns softly. What if this isn't memory from the past, but memory from the future? What if dreams don't look ahead? They look back at moments the soul has already seen. What if you, the one listening right now, have already stepped into tomorrow before tomorrow ever reached you? Remember these stories, because in what comes next, we leave the whispers behind and enter the laboratory where science tries to measure what the heart has always known. Sometimes the dream moves first, and we are only trying to catch up. The air feels still. The stories fade into silence, and now we turn to science. Because somewhere between neurons and nightfall, there must be an answer. Maybe dreams don't speak of prophecy. Maybe they are simply the language of a brain trying to understand itself. At Harvard, neuroscientists call it predictive coding. The brain, they say, is a prediction machine, constantly building models of the future based on the fragments of the past. Every second, it guesses what's about to happen next. A sound, a movement, a heartbeat in the dark. And when we sleep, that system keeps running, but without the rules of waking life. Dreams become a testing ground, a simulation of what might come next. So when one of those imagined futures happens to align with reality, it feels like a vision. But maybe it was simply the brain doing what it always does, only deeper. Still, some experiment refused to fit neatly into logic. At Cornell University, psychologist Dr. Daryl Bem ran a study called Feeling the Future. Participants reacted correctly to images and words before they were randomly shown, seconds before the event itself existed. It was small, controversial, and yet it asked a question science still hasn't fully answered. Can the human mind sense what hasn't yet happened? In Canada, researchers Tor Nielsen and Don Quicken studied hundreds of people who claimed to dream of future events. They noticed a pattern. These dreams appeared most often during moments of deep stress, as if the brain under pressure reached further ahead, searching for stability in what was yet to come. Other scientists talk about REM time compression. In the rapid eye movement stage, where most dreaming occurs, time bends. Neural activity speeds up. The brain processes hours of emotion in mere seconds. Inside that compression, past and future may overlap, forming strange echoes that we later interpret as foresight. Skeptics remind us of confirmation bias. We remember the dreams that come true and quietly forget the thousands that don't. Our minds, desperate for meaning, stitch coincidences into destiny. And yet, even that explanation feels incomplete. Because what about the dreams that defy probability? The ones that warn, that protect, that arrive with impossible precision. Science tries to measure the unseen, but the unseen doesn't always cooperate. Perhaps what we call prediction is just the surface layer, a reflection of something deeper that science hasn't yet named. For all our knowledge of neurons and data, no one can explain why a dream can sometimes move first. The instruments fall silent, the graphs flatten, and somewhere beyond the lab light, the veil still waits, quietly watching. Maybe the science we know is only scratching the surface of something far greater, something ancient, something conscious, something that remembers us even before we begin to dream. The instruments fall silent, equations fade, and at the edge of science, something unseen is still listening. Thousands of years ago, long before the first laboratory existed, human beings already knew, in temples, in monasteries, in deserts and mountains, that dreams were never just stories. They were bridges, Carl Gustav Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and one of the founders of modern psychology, believed that dreams open the royal road to the unconscious. He saw them as a gateway to a deeper field of memory and symbol shared by all of humanity, a vast ocean he called the collective unconscious. In that ocean, your dream and mine are not separate. They ripple across one another, shaping emotion, intuition, and destiny. And as Jung once wrote, when something within us is ready to awaken, it often begins by whispering through a dream. Long before psychology gave it a name, the ancient mystics had already mapped this unseen world. In India, they called it Akasha, a luminous field that records every thought, every event, every possible future. In Tibet, dreams were seen as the mirror of karma, where the mind rehearses its lessons before they unfold in waking life. And in the West, mystics spoke of visions in the night, messages carried across the thin fabric between worlds. Perhaps those ancient teachings were never superstition at all, but an early language for something modern science is only beginning to touch. In 1996, Sir Roger Penrose, a British physicist, professor at Oxford and Nobel laureate in physics, together with Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an American anesthesiologist and professor at the University of Arizona, proposed a radical idea that consciousness might not emerge solely from the brain's electrical signals, but from quantum processes deep inside its microscopic structures, the microtubules. These tiny vibrations, they suggested, could become quantum entangled with the very fabric of the universe. And if that's true, then consciousness is not limited by space or time, and the boundary between dream and reality may be thinner than we think. It's a hypothesis that blurs everything we thought we knew. Because maybe what we call the mind doesn't live inside the skull, but is woven through the universe itself. If dreams are moments when awareness briefly re-enters that fabric, then a prophetic dream isn't predicting the future, it's remembering it from a higher dimension where all possibilities already exist. Meditation masters describe this realm as stillness beyond thought. Quantum physicists call it the vacuum field. Different words, same silence. And within that silence, sometimes an image forms, a glimpse of something that has not yet happened, but somehow already is. Maybe the reason we dream of tomorrow is because part of us is already there. Perhaps consciousness does not move through time, but rather swims within it, touching every moment at once, like fingers trailing across water, feeling every ripple in both directions. One day science may measure it. One day religion may name it. But for now, it remains what it has always been, a quiet miracle of awareness, a conversation between the seen and the unseen. And if our dreams are truly the whispers of that unseen world, then perhaps the purpose of dreaming was never to predict the future, but to remind us that we are already part of it. Long before modern science, long before the first brain scan or theory of consciousness, there were dreams, and every ancient civilization treated them not as illusions, but as messages. From the Nile to the Himalayas, from the temples of Greece to the red deserts of North America, people believed that while the body sleeps, the soul travels. In ancient Egypt, dreams were sacred. They called them the whispers of the gods. Pharaohs slept in special temples, known as dream sanctuaries, where priests watched over them throughout the night. It was said that if one dreamed in the temple of Serapis, the god himself would appear to heal or foretell the future. To the Egyptians, the dream world was not separate from the divine. It was the divine speaking in symbols. Centuries later, across the Aegean Sea, the Greeks continued that tradition. In the sanctuary of Asclepius, pilgrims came to sleep on sacred ground, hoping the god of healing would visit them in their dreams. What they saw, snakes, birds, rivers of light, were interpreted by the temple's dream interpreters, and their meanings were written down as medicine for the soul. Philosophers too listened. Aristotle pondered whether dreams could reveal truths that waking reason could not. Plato called them a window to the immortal. To the ancients, the dream was a bridge, a thin thread between mind and cosmos. Far to the east, in India, the Vedic sages taught that life itself is a dream within a greater dream. In the Upanishads it is written, "When we dream, the self travels beyond the body, seeing what was and what is yet to be." Dreams were seen as karma unfolding ahead of time, lessons shown early so that wisdom might arrive before suffering. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the practice of Milam, dream yoga, teaches that by awakening inside the dream, one can awaken inside reality itself. The practitioner learns to stay aware while the body sleeps, to recognize that both the dream world and the waking world are built from the same fabric of mind. And if both are dreams, then death too is only another awakening. Across the oceans, among the native peoples of North America, dreams were seen as a living spirit. The Iroquois believed that each dream carries a duty, a message from one's soul that must be honored in waking life. The Ojibwe, who gave the world the dream catcher, wove their belief into art that dreams are the threads of destiny, and only the true ones should pass through. Even in the far north, the Inuit shamans spoke of journeys in sleep where they visited ancestors, guided the hunt, and returned with messages from the beyond. To them, dreams were as real as snow. You could walk on them, lose your way in them, and sometimes find your path home. Through every culture, every language, one truth repeated itself, that there is a world within us, older than memory, that still speaks each night. When the body falls silent, perhaps these ancient people were not wrong, but simply closer to the source. Because when we dream, something timeless moves through us, something that remembers, something that listens, something that waits. And as civilization built its temples of stone, we forgot the oldest one, the temple within the mind, where the gods still whisper in the language of light and shadow. There is a moment just before waking when the dream still lingers, when two worlds overlap. In that fragile space, the body belongs to the earth, but the soul is still elsewhere. Every culture, every age has wondered what happened in that thin place between sleep and eternity. Is it imagination or memory? Those who have walked near death, those who have slipped beyond and returned, speak of a light, a warmth beyond description, a presence that knows them by name. Across thousands of accounts, from hospitals in New York to remote villages in Nepal, their words echo the same pattern, floating above the body, watching from a quiet distance, and then a light. Not blinding, not burning, but familiar, as if it had been waiting for a very, very long time. Science calls them near-death experiences, electrical storms in a dying brain, hallucinations born of oxygen loss. Yet something about that does not fade with reason. Dr. Raymond Moody, the physician who coined the term NDE, spent decades collecting testimonies. He found no two were identical, yet all spoke the same emotional truth, an overwhelming peace, a feeling of returning home. And then there are dreams, so vivid, so charged with meaning, that they feel like the same threshold. People dream of loved ones who have passed, not as ghosts, but as if meeting again, somewhere just outside of time. In those dreams, the air feels alive. The landscape hums softly. And the message is never fear. It's always love. Perhaps these are not fantasies of grief, but visits, brief crossings between frequencies, where memory and spirit meet halfway. Modern research calls it shared consciousness phenomena. Mystics call it the bridge of light. Different names, same mystery. In Tibetan teachings, this in-between is known as the bardo, the space between death and rebirth, dream and awakening. It is said that consciousness, upon leaving the body, moves through visions shaped by its own thoughts. If the mind is peaceful, it moves toward light. If the mind is tangled in fear, it recreates its own shadow. And perhaps our nightly dreams are gentle rehearsals for that journey, small steps preparing us for the great crossing ahead. Because every time we sleep, we die a little. And every time we wake, we are born again. If dreams truly are the bridge between the seen and the unseen, then the dreamer is both traveler and messenger. Each of us carries a fragment of the eternal, a spark of the same consciousness that moves the stars, breathes through forests, and whispers to us in our sleep. The divine does not always appear in temples or heavens. Sometimes it waits behind our eyelids in the quiet moment before we wake. Maybe that's why dreams feel sacred, because in them we remember who we are when we are no longer pretending to be human. And when that light calls again, not in dream but in death, perhaps we will recognize it, not as an ending, but as a familiar homecoming. Until then, every dream, every flicker of vision, every déjà vu is a reminder that the veil between worlds was never really there. There is no darkness here, only light and memory. The dream dissolves, the veil fades, and what remains is the one thing that never left: you. Not the body, not the name, but the silent witness that has watched every sunrise, every loss, every lifetime. The ancients called it the soul. Science calls it consciousness. But names are only shadows. The truth is simpler. It is awareness itself, remembering itself. When people return from the edge of death, they often say, "The light knew me." Not "I saw the light," but "it knew me," as if the universe had been waiting quietly for us to remember. What if that light is not something outside us, but the deepest part within? What if we never truly die, but awaken again and again, through dream, through birth, through the endless rhythm of being? Perhaps the entire universe is dreaming itself, through stars, through oceans, through us. And somewhere, in the stillness between breaths, that dream remembers its name. The light that remembers. It's the same light that flickers in the eyes of a newborn, that burns in the heart of a dying monk, that glows behind every act of love. It does not belong to any faith, any era, any world. It simply is. You've seen it in your dreams. You've felt it in the moments you called coincidence. You've heard it in the silence that follows grief. It is the presence that never abandons you, even when you abandon yourself. And maybe that's what all the dreams were for. Not to warn, not to predict, but to help you remember that you were never lost. The journey was never about reaching heaven. It was about realizing that heaven was already here, within the awareness that is watching these words right now. Beyond the veil, there is no separation, no death, no time. Only the gentle unfolding of light recognizing light. The dreamer wakes. The dream continues, and the light remembers.